Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today will be a very exciting first. I have not posted a pet room tour in like 3 years on this channel, and I've only been doing this for 3 years, so it's been a long time. I have this issue of thinking everything has to be perfect, and so I've always come around to December ready to post one, and then I back out because it's not exactly how I want it to be, and I'm working on that issue, so I'm posting one now. Not everything is perfect, and that is okay. I'm really excited to be sharing my pet house tour with you because I don't just have one pet room. Before we get started, I ask that you please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also please check us out on Patreon and consider supporting us there. You get early access to videos such as this one, or you can become a channel member if that's totally up to you. But just consider it, I appreciate it, and yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at my pet room, my other pet room, and my downstairs pet room. Enjoy! So we're going to start off with the downstairs enclosures, which are all Zen Habitats enclosures, and I'll leave a link for them down below. But this one is Franklin's. Franklin is in a naturalistic setup that is half tile, half substrate. That is because he has a gastrointestinal tumor, and I like to keep a closer eye on his poops, which he will do on the tile. He also has rock, he has driftwood, a lot of fake plants, and he has his hammock, basking spot, yada yada, all the good things to make a bearded dragon happy. And my bearded dragon Nova has a lot of the same materials. You know, she's got multiple hides, she's got driftwood, she has the stone. I really like having rock in here because it holds heat so well. It's just a natural basking spot for them. The substrate that I'm using for my bearded dragons Nova and Franklin is a combination of topsoil and washed play sand. I have a deep dive into their enclosures I will include on screen and down below. This is my Uromastyx enclosure. She's actually hiding under her big rock, so that's why I've included a picture of her on the screen. I'm going to do that a few times throughout this video for animals that are hiding, but she's also in a 4x2x2 Zen Habitats enclosure, and she has organic topsoil and washed play sand for her substrate as well. She has a lot of rock in her enclosure because that's where they exist in nature. Uromastyx, they live in rocky outcrops, so she has a lot of natural rock, which is very heavy, but she loves it and it holds heat really well. She also has a lot of driftwood and fake plants, and if it was up to her, she would never leave her rock, but you know, she leaves it when I'm not around, so I don't really get to see her that much, which is why you don't get to see her either. A more in-depth tour for her enclosure will be down below, just like all the other enclosures you're gonna see. This is my enclosure for Haku, the blue-tongued skink. Haku has a huge cork hide that, you know, Haku absolutely loves. There's a lot of driftwood, there's a big basking stone, and cypress mulch is the substrate of choice. There's fake plants, and there's also a rather large, quote, water dish, unquote, because it's not really a water dish. It's just like a Tupperware container that we cut open, you know, to let her get inside, because I don't really think there's reptile dishes big enough on the market for a blue-tongued skink to get into. And right before filming this, she pooped in her water, so I got to clean it. It was very fun, very nice. And I'm gonna actually show you guys where she is right now because she was buried. See, hold on a second. Here we go, here we go. There she is. We'll just cover her back up and move on to the first reptile room, which is actually my bedroom, which I know some people are like, why would you have reptiles in your bedroom? It literally has made my life so much happier having reptiles in my room. I actually just put these 2 racks in here not very long ago, and then here's the rest of my room. If you want like a bedroom tour, I can put that on my second channel, but just let me know. These are my axolotl tanks, and I'll get to them in a minute. And then over here we have my red-eyed crocodile skink enclosure, which we'll get to first. So Fugaku, my red-eyed crocodile skink, lives in this enclosure. It's a 20-gallon long enclosure with a universal rocks background and custom reptile habitats, ledges, and flat sheets on the sides. It is a gorgeous enclosure. I absolutely love it. It's a lot of maintenance though because of that water section. But the water section actually pumps water through the background like a little waterfall. It's just so cool. I did have live plants in here, but they died, and that's a theme we'll see throughout this video, is that I'm not great at keeping plants alive. And so fake plants are great too, okay? We love fake plants over here. But this is my red-eyed crocodile skink enclosure. She's always hiding, so of course I had to include a picture of her. This is my 40-gallon tank for my axolotl Ron, and beneath him is Harry, who's in a 29-gallon. They both have Fluval canister filters and aquarium fans, and also I got attacked by Jackson, so let's watch that. Stop! Stop! I love Jackson so much. He's been so patient. So this is Harry, my axolotl. There's a lot of fake plants, there's driftwood, there's carob sea white sand, and you'll find the same elements in Ron's enclosure. Ron is always hiding. In fact, you'll see Ron's face in this cave, but that's about as much as you'll get to see, so I included a picture on the screen. And now let's move on to the 2 racks in my room, which I just put up recently and it was a lot of work. I'm really excited about it though. So this is my Peter's Banded Skink enclosure. It has a universal rocks background plus custom reptile habitat sides and ledges. I'll include a link for custom reptile habitats down below. The bottom has washed play sand and a bunch of weathered manzanita and a bunch of other custom reptile habitats, ledges and rocks and stuff like that. It's really, really a gorgeous enclosure. I love it because I don't have anything else like it currently in my pet room or like in my pet keeping. Chewy, Chewy, are you ready? Are you ready for some good food? All right, let me get it for you. This is my fire skink Roku's enclosure. It is a 36 by 18 by 18 Exoterra, just like Shukaku's. I forgot to say the dimensions. But it has a DIY background made with cork, expanding foam, silicone, eco-earth, all that jazz. We've got a bunch of climbable driftwood. We have bioactive substrate and live plants. Anytime you see substrate used in my channel, it will be bioactive unless it's like an arid setup. So like, for example, my leopard geckos don't have that. But yeah, it's bioactive with isopods and springtails. In fact, this is my tiger salamander's enclosure, and it also has isopods and springtails. And look at how beautiful Neville is. So Neville is in a 24 by 18 by 18 Exoterra. It has so much substrate for her to burrow in. In fact, she spent most of this year burrowed, and it has a stream area, which I will include a video for down below. This is my Chinese cave gecko, Nymeria's enclosure. She's obviously not out because that's just how she does. It's not nighttime, but she has a DIY background and sides as well, made with the same materials as many of the other enclosures you'll see on my channel. She has a lot of cork hide and climbable surfaces, which I really recommend for that species. This is my tomato frog Gamakichi's enclosure. Gamakichi is actually in his water section right now, so you can't see him, but I will include a clip of him in a minute. He has bioactive substrate. It is eco-earth and organic topsoil, just like Neville's, and he has a partial DIY background, but look at him go. He's just a little little worm machine. And next up, right next to Gamakichi, we have Cho-Cho, who is my Chubby Frog, and she's actually in her stream area as well because they had just been cleaned before this and they both jumped right in. So she has a partial DIY background, she has bioactive substrate. It's pretty much the same setup as Gamakichi's. I like having water features in my enclosure that are built in, that aren't just bowls a lot of times, so I will leave a link for how I build my stream areas down below. And here's Cho-Cho enjoying an earthworm. And next up are enclosures that I literally just finished like 2 weeks ago. They are my Crested Gecko enclosures, which are 18 by 18 by 24 Exoterras with DIY backgrounds, driftwood, bioactive substrate, and drainage layers, all the good stuff. I mean, like all the naturalistic things except live plants. Again, don't come for me. I can't keep them alive, and it makes me very like picky because I can't make the enclosure look the same all the time because the plant's always changing. I think it's also hard to provide as much coverage as I do with fake plants, but that's a whole separate thing. So this is Ray's enclosure. She has to have the most coverage because she is like the most shy gecko that has ever existed. This is Rue, my Crested Gecko. She's actually in this video. You'll see her face popping out of a cork round, but she has all the same things. All of the Crested Geckos have at least 3 cork rounds plus floor hides, plus they have like their hiding plants and they have their driftwood and yada yada. But you can see her face, look, it's poking out right there. But she's actually a Crested Gecko that has metabolic bone disease, and that's why she looks a bit different if you noticed in her photo. The majority of my animals come from situations of adoption, rescue, rehoming, and surrender. So there might be some that just look a bit different, especially when we get to the leopard geckos. But this is my Crested Gecko Roshi's enclosure. Again, it has all the same elements you would expect of the other Crested Gecko enclosures. While we're on the subject of Crested Geckos, I recently did take on my ex's Crested Geckos, of which there are 5, full-time. Their enclosures are not up to my standard, like they're not in any sort of like harm or anything like that, but they don't look as good as this, and so I'm not featuring them in this video. However, I plan to upgrade and work on all those enclosures next year and give you guys a look at that. This is Rayla's enclosure. Again, it has all the same elements. She only had 2 cork hides at the time of recording this, but while I'm doing the voiceover, she has 3, so don't worry about it. She's got a 3rd. I was pleasantly surprised with my Crested Gecko's behavior in the new enclosures. I thought they'd be really shy, especially Ree, but she's already eaten, and I'm just like really proud of how quickly she adjusted, because that's not been the case for her in the past. So that means these enclosures must be winners, and I'm very, very happy with them. And now we're gonna get on to the main pet room, which features all of my leopard geckos, which I'm sure you've all been eagerly awaiting. These are my leopard gecko enclosures that I upgraded in 2020 from All American Cages. I'll include a video all about that down below. Actually, it'll be a whole playlist, but I'll include that down below so you guys can watch that to learn about these enclosures, because there's just not enough time to go into depth about them. But they are 3 different sizes, and we'll get into why there's different sizes as I go into each gecko's enclosure. But these are my leopard gecko enclosures. I call them my gecko towers. I think that they're rad. I absolutely love them, and they've worked out really, really well, so I'm really happy I went this route. I also have a few other gecko enclosures. That one's from Custom Reptile Habitats. Then we have some Exoterras. That's my Garter Snakes enclosure. We have another leopard gecko enclosure over here, which was Meraxi's old enclosure. There's some African fat-tail gecko enclosures, and then also my White's tree frogs. So let's get into it, because it's a lot. So starting out with Tormund. Tormund is a leopard gecko of mine that is pet only due to having a neurological disorder, and she also has one eye that's smaller than the other. You'll see it in her cute face right here. Oh, there's the little eye. She's so precious. Look at the difference. Oh, she's so cute. I love her so much. I won't be giving too many details about the personalities or the background of my leopard geckos in this video, because it would just be way too much, but I am going to be posting a meet all my leopard geckos soon, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you subscribe, then you'll be notified when that goes out. Anyways, this is my gecko Arya's enclosure. Arya was a rescue. She was severely malnourished, but not in the way you normally think. She was actually really obese, and now she's not, which is great. And then this is Amy's enclosure. Amy was a rehome to me when her owner was moving out of state. Amy's a lovely, lovely gecko. She's actually in shed right now, so the tip of her nose looks dark because it's the only spot of her that remains. The rest of her looks like all, ghosty. Oh, I suppose I should mention some of the elements in these enclosures. You're gonna see cholla wood, manzanita driftwood, you're gonna see grapevine, you're gonna see cork bark, you're gonna see cork rounds, cork flats, you're gonna see a lot of those type of materials over and over again. The substrate is a combination of organic topsoil and washed play sand with a bit of eco earth in there as well, just a little bit. But I will have a video all about how I made substrates, or how I like to make substrates, coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Also, can we talk about how Marcella just wiggled her tail at me? So rude. Marcella has a neurological disorder called Enigma syndrome, but because hers is so slight, she's allowed to have a big enclosure with substrate. We'll get into Enigma syndrome a bit more later in this video. This is Renly's enclosure. It has, again, a lot of the same elements: driftwood, cork, fake plants. You'll also find humid hides, water dishes, and calcium dishes in all the leopard gecko enclosures as well. Renly was a Craigslist rescue many, many years ago. This is Brienne. She was a rehome, a little bit of rescue, but again, we're not going to get into it. She has a lot of the same elements again: fake plants, cork, driftwood, and her humid hide, her water dish, and her calcium dish. And she also has very, very big eyes, and she's going to wink at us. So cute. And then this is Merlin's enclosure. Merlin is a very interesting gecko. You can see him being very interesting. Look. So Merlin has some skeletal defects. You can see his spine, his shoulders stick out, his ears are really pointed, his head is kind of shaped like an arrow. Merlin's just a special little dude, that's just how it is. Another special dude is my gecko Benjen. This is his enclosure. He has no substrate due to he has a really pronounced underbite, and he would like shovel substrate into his face. He also has issues with his kidneys, so it's just best to keep him not on substrate. Anytime you don't see substrate, there is a medical reason why. So just want to be very clear about that. But here's Benjen, the cutest. Look at him, he's so adorable. Oh my gosh. Man, he loves putting on a show for you guys, I swear. He just lives for the camera. And then this is Jojen's enclosure. Jojen does not have substrate because he has white and yellow syndrome, which is a neurological disorder. I will include a link about it down below because there's not enough time to talk about it in this video. I tried offering substrate to 2 of my neurologically disabled geckos at the beginning of, when I first upgraded their enclosures. That's Tormund and Jojen, and both of them had issues with it, so I've just kind of made a strict rule that neurologically disabled geckos do not get substrate. This is my gecko Viserion. He has a facial tumor due to the fact that he is a lemon frost, which is a problematic leopard gecko morph that's known for developing cancerous tumors. But Viserion doesn't really even know he has it. Like, he's had it his whole life. It's not something that really bothers him. If it ever does, of course, I'll address it with my vet. But he's just a lovely, lovely boy. I don't recommend buying lemon frost. I just want to put that out there. But he is a lovely boy. And he is just so cute. Look, oh my gosh. And he has, again, a lot of the same elements in his enclosure that you'll see over and over again. And this is Tywin. Tywin does not have substrate because he has reproductive health issues. He has chronic issues with his femoral pores, and so it's just been easier to leave him without substrate. He does have a rather large humid hide that I also put substrate in, so he can have it as like a dig box, but he doesn't really do that much digging, so I don't think he's missing out. But he is a huge boy, very lovely, very food motivated. And here's another one of my big boys. This is Varys. He was actually taken in the same day that Brienne was. They came from the same place. And you'll notice that his calcium dish has been knocked off of his humid hide, which is very annoying because I literally just cleaned everything and filled the calcium dishes right before I filmed this. And he knocked it off and completely dumped out all the calcium. So I'll have to refill that. Very nice. Thank you, Varys. This is my gecko Fritz's enclosure. Fritz was actually my first leopard gecko ever, which is why he doesn't have a Game of Thrones name. I try to have all my leopard geckos have Game of Thrones names. His middle name is Tyrion. I wish I had known I was going to do this. I would have just given him one from the start, but I adopted him with the name Fritz, and so there we go. His name is Fritz. He is a lovely, lovely boy, and here you can see him drinking some water. I recommend keeping water dishes in your leopard gecko's enclosures. There was a time where I experimented with not doing that because some people will say they prefer not to, and I came to the conclusion that yes, please offer water to your leopard geckos. This is a leopard gecko named, well, actually his name was Vash, but since he's 100% mine now, because he was my ex's, but now that he's 100% mine, I think I'm going to do what I always wanted to do and name him Jorah. So his name is Jorah Vash. Vash is his middle name now. He has a very different type of setup because I had a lot of red elements I wanted to use. So we have choya wood, we have red caves, we have this red stone, and this is a testament to the fact that like you can have a single hot hide and cool hide, but your leopard gecko is going to choose whatever hide it likes most, and he likes this back corner where there's like just a big piece of rock, and he just sleeps underneath it all the time. This is Carsey's enclosure. Carsey is my West Indian leopard gecko, Eublepharus fuscus. She's a lovely girl. The reason I have her is because she's pet only due to having a spinal defect, which you can kind of see as she moves. It's right at the base of her tail, and it's just a little bump. She doesn't know any different. She's a very good girl. A little bit of a picky eater, not picky so much in the type of food, but in the way it's delivered to her. So she has a bowl because sometimes she prefers to eat out of a bowl. This is my Eublepharus macularis afghanicus. His name is Tyrion. He's also a pet only. He's got some extra skin, some like weird bubbling underneath of his armpits where I think he just has a lot of extra skin, to be honest, and that's what it is accounted for. But yeah, you'll notice he just looks a little bit different, but he doesn't know he's any different, and that's okay with me. This is Alisanne, who was a gecko that was rescued and sent to me. She was rescued with like a burn mark on her back and a bunch of missing toes, and the gecko she was housed with eventually had to be euthanized, so it was a really bad situation. But she is a great gecko, loves to climb, very interactive, and she'll be getting an upgrade. So will Carsey and Tyrion in the new year. This is Elia. Elia is a gecko that was rescued and sent to me. She has metabolic bone disease, and so of course she looks a bit different. Her bones are always going to appear that way. This is Theon's enclosure. Theon is a gecko that has white and yellow syndrome. Again, I will leave a link about white and yellow syndrome down below, so if you have any questions, please click that link. Theon is a lovely boy, and look, he's so cute. He also recently has been having some eye irritation. I'm not sure if he scratched it while he was shedding. I can't see anything, but I have some antibiotic ointment on hand, so if you notice anything weird with his eye, the one that's facing us right now, that's what it is. Up next is Kinvara's enclosure. Kinvara is another gecko I have that has white and yellow syndrome. Again, I will leave a link for it down below, so please don't ask me any questions, just click on that link. I'll explain everything in that video. But white and yellow syndrome is a neurological disorder, and you can kind of see it in her movement when we were first panning over to her. Up next is Mira. Mira has stunted growth, impaired vision due to underdeveloped eyelids. She also has a bit of extra skin, and I noticed that she has like the full armpits, the full like bubbles as well. I think in her case, it's just because she stores extra skin there. I don't think it's actually an issue of too many nutrients or too much food, because she's cared for the same way as all my other geckos, and none of the other stunted growth geckos have this issue either. So I think it's just an extra skin issue, but it's something she's had for her whole life. So I figured I would just put that in there. But if your gecko has armpit bubbles, look into it. Okay, unless it's always had them. Anyways, moving on. This is Aegon's enclosure. Aegon is a gecko I took in almost a year ago now. He has white and yellow syndrome and some kidney issues that actually Benjen also has. So it's been very interesting to work with both of them, because it's not something that there's much information about online. He doesn't have substrate because he has white and yellow syndrome. Mira doesn't have substrate because she once got it in her eyes, and it's just not something that I'm willing to really work with because her eyes are so sensitive as it is. But maybe again in the future I'll try it out and see if it goes differently. This is Liana, who does have substrate because she's very abled, and she's so abled that she hates me. And you'll actually see that in a minute. She, when I touch her, recoils instantly because I am so just horrible. She hates my guts. It's okay though. The feeling is not mutual. I love her very much. I think Liana knew she was being filmed because she didn't react as much as she normally does. Like sometimes she'll try to bite me, or she'll run away really, really fast, or she'll jump in the air because she just doesn't like me, and that's okay. I love her anyway. This is Davos's enclosure. Davos is my most recent leopard gecko that I took in. So her enclosure is kind of bare because I'm still figuring out what she likes. Like in fact, I just gave her substrate in her humid hide to see if she likes to dig. She's, showing me that she can climb. I learned that she can climb pretty well. I'll include a clip of that actually, but yeah, she's a lovely, lovely girl. She has one leg that's shorter than the other. She's missing a toe on that foot. She's really small. She has extra skin. She has one eye that's a lot smaller than the other. She's just a little bit wonky, and that's okay. I am a home for wonky Leos. I love them very much. And so that was her enclosure, and I gave her a little snack because I felt bad that I enticed her out so you guys could see her. Here she is the day that I moved her into her enclosure. She's climbing this big cork round, which I was very happy to see. She does it pretty well, and I'll just let the clips speak for themselves. Also, there is no light in the enclosure, so it's gonna be hard to see, but I apologize. This is my gecko Roz. She's one of my geckos that has Enigma syndrome, which you're gonna see a lot of here because we finally reached the enclosures that are a bit on the smaller side. These enclosures are all 18 by 18 by 12. They're 15-gallon equivalents, which works for geckos that are disabled. I don't think that's something you should use for abled geckos. My abled geckos are all in 36 by 18 by 12. Some of them are in 24 by 18 by 12, and they're being upgraded come the new year. But that's a 15-gallon equivalent for the 18 by 18 by 12, a 20-gallon equivalent, or a little bit over 20 gallons for the 24 by 18 by 12, and over 30 gallons for the 36 by 18 by 12. So I have different sizes because my geckos have different needs. But ideally, you should offer your gecko as much space as you can. Just make sure that you cover the space. Don't just have a bare enclosure because otherwise they're gonna not really thrive. So offer as much enrichment and hiding spaces as possible, especially if it's a bigger enclosure. Also, I fed Roz a waxworm because why not? So this is Marjorie's enclosure. Marjorie is a gecko that has stunted growth and a neurological disorder. Her eyes are also a bit wonky as well. One is smaller than the other, and her eyelids don't meet in the corners, so sometimes she'll have like skin that grows over there and it comes off. It's a very weird situation. But this is her enclosure, and she's a lovely little baby dinosaur. I think of her as like my baby velociraptor. She's so cute. And then this is my gecko with Enigma syndrome, Sam. She is sister to Gilly, who you guys will see see in a minute. They both have pretty severe Enigma syndrome, and yeah, you can see her kind of thrashing her head around in there. Yeah, it's just kind of how Enigmas move. She is obviously about to shed. Look at her little like ghost body. It's so funny. And then next up we have Rhaego, who's a gecko of mine that has stunted growth, double cleft nostrils, he's blind, he has underdeveloped eyelids, he has extra skin, like he's wonky, okay? He's got all the issues. He also has reproductive health issues. He gets sperm plugs all the time, like for like 6 months of the year. He's a lot, but he's so cute. So that's why he's in a smaller enclosure, because he's blind and he's super tiny. And then we have Gilly, who is sister to Sam, the other Enigma I showed, and she's kind of falling out of the enclosure. Also, don't mind that mess on the floor. I was cleaning enclosures and, you know, dirt gets out sometimes, but she's so good. She's nice and calm. Okay, thanks for putting me back up here. Such a good girl. Also, she got on top of that humid hide all by herself. So Enigmas do climb given the opportunity. You just can't give them too much to fall off of because they could end up hurting themselves. This is Eddard's enclosure. Eddard is my only male leopard gecko with Enigma syndrome. And you can see he's a bit wobbly, but he's so cute. And he tries his best, and I love him so much. This is my gecko Melisandre, who has perhaps the worst Enigma syndrome in the house. And she also has a light on in her enclosure, but by the way, all these lights that you're seeing inside the enclosures right now are not on all the time. There, so she has a bit of darkness because the light stresses her out. It's just something that happens with geckos who are Enigma. They can be stressed by light. So this is my gecko Meraxes enclosure. It is, she just jumped back. It is by Custom Reptile Habitats. It's probably one of, if not my most favorite enclosure in the house. I love the 3D background. I love all of it. It has such a vibe to it, and it's huge, which is good for her because she's a Eulopharis and Gremanu, and they are really big leopard geckos, and they're built for climbing. She climbs all the time, so this is a perfect enclosure for her. This is my enclosure for my African fat-tailed gecko Oberyn. It is an 18 by 18 by 18 Exoterra, and he is hiding right now. He's hiding all the time. I pretty much never see him unless I make him come out. So he has bioactive substrate. He has cork tile walls. He's got a little second tier with some cork. He's just got lots of places to climb, lots of places to hide. He absolutely loves to climb, so that's why I gave him a taller enclosure. Up next, there's my Garter Snake Mikasa. She is in a 36 by 18 by 18 Exoterra that has bioactive substrate, a lot of hiding places because Mikasa is so skittish. So she has a lot of hiding places, not as much up in the air climbing space right now because she's just not there yet. She doesn't really do that even when I'm not in the room. She absolutely loves hiding. She has tons of cork rounds. She's got this buried hide that's like made out of a plastic hut, which literally is the cheapest and ugliest thing in the world, but she loves it. It's her favorite place to be. In fact, I'm going to include a clip of her eating so you guys can see that. And she comes out of that hide, so like only the like front maybe 4 inches of her is out enough so she can eat, and the rest of her is in that hide. Look, she's so cute. Oh my gosh. So in this clip she's eating chicken heart, which she absolutely loves, but she also has fish and earthworms. She's got all kinds of stuff, so don't just think she only eats chicken heart. But yeah, she's a great girl, great eater, just very, very skittish. Also, she loves to musk me, not my favorite thing. This is one of my leopard gecko enclosures that is a recent upgrade. It's for Ygritte. All of my abled geckos that are in 24 by 18 by 12 will be upgraded this next year to 24 by 18 by 18 enclosures so they can get more climbing space. I don't have enough room to give them 36 by 18 by 12s like I do for my others, so I was like, let me at least give them an extra 6 inches of height and give them some more climbing space. So here's Ygritte, so cute. She has an underbite and she has one eye that's smaller than the other, but neither of those things preclude her from being able to have substrate and a like big climbable background. And now we're on to the African fat-tailed gecko enclosures. We have Jamie's enclosure here. It is bioactive. It has cork rounds, cork bark, driftwood, fake plants, all that type of stuff. Plus it has a DIY background, which you'll actually find Jamie scaling. I've never seen Jamie climb like this, but I recently did some redecorating. And when I added him back to the enclosure, I found him climbing, which is interesting because he's missing a foot. He was born with 3 feet instead of 4. He's also extremely small for an African fat-tailed gecko, but he just simply will not grow. So it probably is related to him being born without a foot. This enclosure is for Obella. Again, a lot of the same elements, bioactive substrate, cork tile walls. She's right there, pretty lovely lady. Obella was a rehome from the same person or a friend of the person who rehomed Rhaego to me. Rhaego was a rescue situation though, that's a completely different thing. Little dude wouldn't even eat, hadn't eaten in like a month. But yeah, this is Obella's enclosure, and one of the goals I have for next year, in addition to upgrading 4 or 5 leopard geckos, is to offer UVB to all the species that don't currently have it, which I think now are just my geckos, like my leopard geckos, crested geckos, and my African fat-tailed geckos. So I'm going to be buying a lot of UVB next year, let's just put it that way. And this is my White's tree frog enclosure. It houses 4 White's tree frogs. It is 48 by 18 by 24, that's in inches by the way. So it's about 90 gallons. It has 3 water dishes, one of which was made by QD Reptiles over on Instagram and Etsy. It also has a background from Custom Reptile Habitats. I'll include a link for them down below. It also has manzanita, a bunch of fake plants, and has some sphagnum moss on the floor. For those who don't know, my White's tree frogs are berry, kiwi, cocoa, and durian, and they are very, very lovely frogs. It is 3 a.m. Friday morning, the day that I hope to have this video posted, by the way. Probably gonna pull an all-nighter. And this is my lychee enclosure. I hoped to have had it done, but ran into some issues, and it's not something that can be forced. You know, you want to build to not be rushed. So this is the new lychee build. Subscribe and you'll get to see it when it comes out. But yeah, this is all I got to show you about the lychee so far. Sorry. Next clip. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing my pet room. If you did, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Also, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tell me, what was your favorite part of the tour? What animal was your favorite to see? What enclosure was your favorite? Just tell me down below about your pet room. I always love seeing people's pet room tours and hearing about them. So let me know what you do for yours. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.